Over 1 million people swear by the bullet journal method, and I wanted to find out what the hype was all about. So I just spent the last 30 days bullet journaling to see if it could actually organize my life. In today's video, I'm going to share my experiences with bullet journaling and what I like most about it. But I'm also going to share some glaring problems and who I think this method is best suited for and who it's not. Now, I've always been hesitant to try out the bullet journal method because all I had ever seen was all the elaborate art spreads that you see all over social media. I'm not an artistic type of person, and I just always felt like that's too much for me. But I went and bought the book, The Bullet Journal Method, and after reading it, I realized that the internet had hijacked the bullet journal system and turned it into something that it's not. In the book, writer Carol lays out a really simple, easy to follow system that helps you track the past, order the present, and design the future. The real method seemed simple enough, so I committed myself to the experiment. My goal was to set up a brand new bullet journal and use it to capture my thoughts, my ideas, organize my tasks, and anything else I could think of for the next 30 days. Like a lot of people, I wear a lot of different hats in life. I play in a band, I work a full-time job, I make these YouTube videos, and I'm always trying to learn and try new things and develop new skills. So all that's to say that things get messy, and I needed something to organize all that chaos. Now, I know there are a million apps and productivity tools, and I could technically solve this problem with some sort of technology. But look, the thing is I'm sick of these damn phones. I'm just tired of looking at this screen. I've spent hundreds of hours building out Notion systems and using other productivity software to organize and become super efficient and incredibly productive. But rather than get my time back and feel empowered to create more, I always ended up feeling anxious and busy. All I found is I ended up spending countless hours just tinkering with these tools. After spending months trying to organize my life with a Notion dashboard, I eventually burned out. I just felt like over it. Like I could not look at another screen for another minute. I remember I took my dog out for a walk one morning and I was just feeling very anxious and stressed about everything and like I wasn't making enough progress. And I remember writing this down in my digital journal in Notion. I typed, "My observation is the more analog a system, the more likely it is optimized towards importance. And the more digital a system, the more likely it tends towards complexity and increased attention to maintaining." That's the problem I was struggling with. I felt like everything I did was just leading to more and more complex systems because it was just too easy with a digital tool to add more things, to tinker with new things, rather than take the time to think about what's important and what truly matters. When you use an analog system like a notebook or the bullet journal method, you're forced to write things down by hand. And by writing things down by hand, there's a little bit of friction. And that friction forces you to consider whether that thing is important enough to do. And that's a feature, not a bug. If you're unfamiliar with the bullet journal method, the key components are an index, where you could quickly find anything inside the journal, a future log, where you have a view of upcoming events at a glance. This is a page where you write down any events in the future so you don't lose track of them. I also use this page to write down my quarterly goals so I could see them and be reminded of them often. Then there is a monthly view where you can get a quick overview of the month. I used this page to set up a simple habit tracker. The right side of the spread is used for brain dumping all of your upcoming tasks so you can see them in one place. And then from there, there's the practice of bullet journaling, where you write down your daily activity using the rapid logging system. Bullets for tasks, X's for completed tasks, O's for events, dashes for notes, and then these little arrow things for noting when you move tasks or schedule them somewhere else. Having a different symbol for different types of information made it really easy to scan through the pages and see what I'm looking for. It was also very time efficient. It never took more than a couple seconds to just jot down something I did or a quick little note I was thinking about, or mark out an important event coming up. This style of note keeping keeps information to the point and easy to look back on. My personal spin on this method was to include a time box next to each day's log so I could see a visual representation of where my time went. This made it easy to see where I was wasting my time, where I could move things around to make more time, and gave me a holistic look at my week and review. I really found the rapid logging system to be incredibly beneficial to my process, and it's probably something I'm going to keep doing throughout the rest of my life. It was really that effective at just making quick little notes of things and just tracking activity. Something I noticed in the first week of this experimentation is that my motivation to complete tasks immediately shot up. Because I took the time to set up this notebook, it felt more important and special to me. I wanted to see the pages fill up with my experiences and just a record of my accomplishments. Watching the habit tracker fill up was proof that I was making consistent effort. The fact that I knew I was going to be writing down everything I did made me want to do more things just to get the satisfaction of writing it down in my notebook. It also meant I spent less time doing things that weren't important to me, like scrolling my phone mindlessly. In practice, it looked like this. I'd wake up and figure out what I needed to do that day. Then I'd draw the time box next to my log and visually map out any obligations. After that, it was just a matter of doing things and making quick records of it in the notebook. The notebook lived on my desk most of the time, and I would throw it in my bag if I needed it on the go. At the end of the day, I'd quickly go over everything and tie up any loose ends. I like to write a 1 or 2 sentence note to myself about how the day felt and gave it a star rating. This isn't a part of the bullet journaling method, but it was useful for documenting the experiment and gave me more data to look back on. But the part of the bullet journal method I was most wary of was the migration process. Migration is where each month you create a new monthly spread and then hand transfer all of your unfinished tasks from the last month to the new one. This seemed really tedious to me, but I was surprised by what happened when I did my first migration. As I started writing down the dates and drawing up my habit tracker, I started to feel a sense of relaxation settle over me. I was starting to think more deeply about the things I had planned for the next month. And I started to reconsider whether certain things were important to me or if I could just leave them behind. Normally, with a digital system, some unfinished tasks would just be automatically carried over into the next month. But because I had to hand copy them down from the last month, it made me really think, like, do I want to bring this task over into the new month, or do I just want to drop it and move on with my life? And then crossing off those things that just didn't matter to me anymore felt so nice, to just be free of it, right? To just not have that burden of a never-ending to-do list, to just say, you know what? Screw it. I don't need to bring this with me next month. It's a fresh start. I'm going to start new. And that's what is really cool about the bullet journal method, is the friction forces you to be intentional. Apps make it too easy for things to be automated and for stuff to just keep appearing in your to-do list. And this friction just makes you take an extra second and pause and think, do I really care about this? Am I really going to work on this next month? After going through a full month of the bullet journal method and going through this migration process, I felt like I finally understood what the hype was all about. It just feels good to have a notebook full of records from your life, to have your thoughts and your tasks all processed and ordered in one place, and to feel like you're doing the things that matter to you and not just doing things for the sake of being busy. I felt like I'd gained control of my time and my energy. Things felt less chaotic, and more importantly, I felt excited to get up and just fill that notebook with records of my accomplishments. But I want to pivot and talk about some of the problems I see with bullet journaling. Now, the first problem is it could be time consuming if you go down the rabbit hole of elaborate spreads on social media. If you keep the system simple, like it was in his book, daily logging only takes a few minutes a day. It really doesn't take that much time at all. The migration process took about 30 minutes, and setting up the notebook from scratch was about an hour of my time. But if you get lulled into this perfect artistic spread that you see on Pinterest and you want to create these elaborate spreads that look beautiful and amazing, those hours are going to start to add up. And it can become really overwhelming to the point where you don't even start because it's going to take you 6 hours to set up this perfect notebook. Now, I do want to caveat this and say that if you are artistic and you do like having a beautiful journal and something that's a little more bespoke and unique to you, then by all means, you do you. I just feel like it's a little overwhelming for new beginners at the bullet journal method, and to keep things simple at first, just so it's not so overwhelming and it doesn't take so much time to get into the system itself. Now, the next problem isn't so much a problem as much as it is a gripe. Bullet journaling is often talked about as a super flexible, modular system, but I feel like people are confusing the method for the medium here. The bullet journal method at its core is a future log and a monthly log, and then you have rapid logging daily system, and then you have the monthly migration. That's what makes the bullet journal method, those 4 things right there. But everything else that people add, like habit trackers or weekly reviews or some fun gamified system to keep them motivated or books they read for the month, all this stuff, isn't bullet journaling. Bullet journaling has become this weird catch-all phrase that just seems to include anything you throw in a notebook now. Writer Carol called these extra pages and templates collections, but that's just clever marketing. If you invent some cool gamified system or some new spread for yourself, that's your invention, not bullet journaling. And I think this is why so many people are confused about what bullet journaling really is in the first place. Like, if bullet journaling is anything and everything, then why not just call it journaling? So here's my hot take. It's the notebook itself and the users of those notebooks that are creative and flexible and innovative. Bullet journaling is just the starting point and happens to benefit from the creativity of its own community. Again, this is really clever marketing by him calling it collections, but it is what it is. All right, hot take over. I'm done. We're gonna move on. Another problem is that it's not always convenient or practical to bring a notebook with you everywhere. I found it really easy to log things when I was at home because the notebook just lived on my desk over there, and whenever I did something, I would just go over there, jot it down real quick, and move on with my day. I would bring my notebook with me on the go in a camera bag that I have, but it wasn't always convenient to bring that bag or to pull out my notebook when I needed to jot something down. The solution I found was to use a pocket notebook for those times where I needed something on the go. These fit in your pocket or your purse very easily and make it really easy to just pull out when you need it. Now, the downside is you have two notebooks where you're tracking and logging information, so there's a trade-off. So you either have to copy things over to your main notebook or just be okay with switching between the two. I think a more interesting experiment that I might run in the future is to just do all of my bullet journaling in a pocket notebook. They're the perfect size for an entire month worth of data, and I feel like it's just easier to bring those things with me on the go and to just track things as I need them and make quick notes, and they're just a little bit more flexible than a full-size notebook. But there's also one more problem that makes bullet journaling not practical for a large portion of people. See, bullet journaling is a method designed for personal productivity, not professional. If you work at a job where tasks are getting pushed onto you, you've got meetings that are being rescheduled, calls that you got to be on, things that are moving around, working with a big team, then having all your tasks and trying to organize all of your work in a notebook is going to be really challenging, especially if your company uses some sort of productivity tool to do communication, things like Slack or Notion. For these people who are trying to be working professionals in a fast-paced environment, I honestly don't think bullet journaling is going to be the best option for professional productivity. Now, I still think the method is great for keeping a record of your activity and your personal ideas and things that you're doing with your life. But in the modern work environment, it might just be too impractical for everyday use. And it's for that reason that I think bullet journaling is best kept as a personal productivity tool, something that you do to manage your own goals, your habits, maybe your relationships, just to keep yourself on track and organize your personal life. That's not to say that you can't do professional creative things with the bullet journal method. I actually use mine to keep track of my YouTube channel and all these different creative hobbies I have, like my band and my writing. But the thing is I'm not working with teams or large groups of people that I'm having to coordinate a bunch of information with. So for that reason, it works for me, but it might not work for you if you're having to coordinate all these different tasks between multiple people. But here's the thing, if you've been feeling that digital burnout, you've been working all day on your screen, you feel like all of your relationships are mediated through a phone, you feel like all your tasks are on a phone and you're just constantly looking at screens and you're just over it, I think the bullet journal method is going to be perfect for you. It's going to help you start to feel more in touch with your ideas. It's going to help you slow down your life, organize your time, organize your tasks, and feel more intentional about the way you've been pursuing your goals. So if you're tired of the constant distraction that smartphones and digital devices and apps bring, then I say try out the bullet journal method and see if it works for you. I've already decided that I'm going to continue this experiment for the rest of the year because bullet journaling worked for me. I'm not as distracted, I'm excited to create, and I just feel good about the direction my life is going since I started using it. If you want to give bullet journaling a chance, then check out this video right over here, where I walk you through step by step setting up a brand new bullet journal.